Hey, everybody. Hopefully, I am live. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you hear everything that I'm saying? Let me know in the chat if you can. Is there anyone here? Hello, hello. Hold on, I'm coming to YouTube to check. Can you hear me? Can you see me? If you can, stick it in the comments so that I know that you are here. Hold on. Aha! Hello, I can see people popping up now. Happy days. There you are. Hello. How are we doing? So we're going to give it a couple of minutes just to get everybody in. While we are doing that, while we're waiting for everybody, how has your day been? So today is actually a good task where you start to look at your emergency fund and that sort of stuff. But I think a lot of you today have been finishing off yesterday's as well, which has been your identifying of leaks in the pot of money. So while we're waiting for people to get in here, what I'd love to do is to hear from you whether you've identified any leaks, any big leaks that you could potentially plug. I know that we spoke to Paul Tebbett yesterday, who shared about his takeaway situation. But has anyone else found any areas for improvement? Because I think this task is actually quite a good way of you starting to become very conscious and intentional around your money. And I think it would be really interesting. Those of you that are here, tell me what has been your kind of biggest outcome, biggest highlight, biggest lesson from doing yesterday's task. Have you identified any leaks that you can plug? Have you highlighted any things that might be able to help you see a shift and a change in direction where it comes to your money? Paul's in bed. That's no good. Tanya's not feeling very well tonight either. What's happening? It's all this money talk, right? So this is an interesting one. White good insurances, pay monthly when I should just put that money aside. That's interesting. So we'll just talk about that for a second, right? So one of the things that I found really difficult to do, so historically when I had absolutely no money, I always paid for my insurances monthly. And when I first met Andy, so Andy was always a person who paid for his insurances for a year in advance to like save the money. And I'd never even heard of that before I met him. I just thought, oh, you just pay monthly. That's just how you do it. Because everyone I knew did it like that. So when I learned it could be done like that in kind of 2015, 16, that sort of time, the year I started earning a bit of cash, what I did, I was paying my monthly. And then at the same time, I was putting my monthly amount away, like a double amount. So I was paying double effectively. I was putting my monthly amount away into a pot that was pre-loading a pot ready for my annual installment the second year. So for a whole year, it was quite uncomfortable because I was really like putting money away where I needed it. But then what happened is in the second year, I had the money in advance of the year. So then I kept putting it away monthly and I put it away monthly into my insurances pot. But then when I need to pay for an insurance, I've got that cash in advance. So it's super hard to do it the first year because you're basically paying double for a whole year, which is fucking hard, right? And not everyone's going to be able to do that straight away. But it's definitely something to consider. If you can get on top of your annual insurances rather than having to pay monthly, it will make a massive difference because, you know, we've got house insurance, car insurance, life insurance, medical insurance. What else do we have? I mean, in business, you've got public liability insurance, you've got professional indemnity insurance, you've got all these different insurances. And actually, it can be quite expensive. A lot of money gets spent on insurance, right? So yeah, if you can pay in advance and just save, you know, 5-10% on each of those, that's a great saving, and it's all money that you can put aside. So I spend too much on courses and personal development. That's a really interesting one. And I think the phrase too much, right? We have to define what's right for us. And I think the biggest thing around investing in ourselves, education, courses, development, etc. Like I've spent a lot of money on that sort of stuff. Some of that money, I would say I got incredible return on investment because I did it. It was delivered very well. The content was excellent. Like it was really well spent money. But I've have other money that I've spent and invested that I wish I'd just set fire to a £50 note because it would have been more fun, more effective and more valuable to me because it's been shit. And I think this is where, it's about thinking, am I going to do the work to be able to actually like make the change? But two, is the person that I'm learning from actually going to deliver what they're promising? And I think sometimes that doesn't always happen. So you just got to do your due diligence, check, all of those things. Then it's important to still invest and like learn because otherwise you get stuck. But you're right. You want to make sure you're investing in the right things. 100% agree. Mac is the Starbucks. These are lines. I have a Starbucks line in my company budget because I work a lot in Starbucks. But in my personal life, actually, I try not to hemorrhage my own personal money on this stuff because actually, I've got coffee at home. As much as annoying as that sentence is, I have. I nearly cried last night when I used my insights report in my bank account. I get it. It's tough. It's hard, some of this stuff. It's hard to look at it. And it's, but it will never be harder than it is right now because once you're on top of it, you can learn to change it and you can learn to evolve it. And that is actually the most important part. Paul, sometimes I pay half my car insurance up front, so it's less per month for the remaining balance. Yeah, absolutely. There's all sorts of things you can do like that. Also, we all pay direct debits monthly because that's what banks tell us to do, right? We all pay our mortgage every month, but you can actually pay your mortgage differently. So if you decided to pay your mortgage every fortnight instead, and you asked for the overpayment to come off of capital, you would save money and you pay your mortgage down quicker. If you, paid, instead of paying 12 installments a year, you paid 13 installments a year, that would make a massive difference. It's those sorts of things. We fall in line with what the bank just suggests because we think that's the only way. But in fact, you can pay it how you want to pay it. If you want to, you just have to actually, sometimes make it a bit difficult for you to be able to ring up and pay differently, but you can set up your payments to go whenever you want. And with things like the mortgages, you can request that your overpayment goes towards the principal and not towards the interest. So actually it'll be reducing your debt over time, which will leave you with more money ultimately because you'll save on your interest rates. Food shopping, go with a list, 100%. Never go shopping hungry. And whilst I definitely don't do this religiously, actually, I find if I do online food shopping, I save money because on online shopping, I've got a list and I buy it and that's it. Whereas if I wander around a shop, I just maybe I do need that extra bottle of wine. Maybe I do need that bag of Maltesers. Maybe I do need that extra thing. Whereas if I'm online shopping, I don't. I just tick the things that I want. I've already got a preloaded list in a lot of the things and it just arrives, right? So again, this is about we talked yesterday about identifying your spending habits and your spending behaviors. And that 100% is one of them. Like what could you do differently so that you can get on top of these things? Should one have a separate account for income and expenses? Again, this depends on you personally and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And also, I think if you're in a partnership as well, if there's more than one of you, so like Andy and I, we have our own money and then we have joint money as well. So all of our joint stuff, we put on payday, like we both have a payday. On payday, we put our joint money into our joint account and that pays all of our joint bills. But then all of my personal bills that are for me and his personal bills that are for him and his shopping for like his clothes and my shopping for my clothes, like all of those sorts of things, that comes out of our own money. It doesn't come out of our joint money. So I invest in the things that I want to invest in. He invests in the things that he wants to invest in. And we do that in our own money because we want to be financially independent. We are financially independent we've got businesses together, but we also want to have our independence in terms of our financial stability as well. So you could have in partnerships, you could have joint separates. in terms of your like income and expenses, you definitely could set it up just like that. So if you know that all your bills come out of one account, you get paid into account A. On the day you get paid, all of your money goes to account B or to all of your pots, wherever they are. So all your bills come out of B, which means everything that's left in account A is all yours. You know, it's to be spent on what you've decided to spend it on. It could be investments, could be fun stuff, whatever, however it's set up for you, right? So yeah, there's loads of different things that you could be doing that would help you to just make these tiny changes. So okay, couple of little announcements. Obviously, the tickets for the Money Mechanics Live, you guys have been booking those, which has been amazing. Thank you so much for getting behind it. I'm super excited to welcome you guys all. If you are coming to the event in November, don't forget to use the code on your checkout so that you get that discount at 295. Also, I was asked today by 2 people if I could share this, which is the link to the Stock Savvy subscription. So it's our £2 a week subscription. You get a training video once a week from me, and you also get a fortnightly, I call it a newsletter, but it's not really a newsletter. It's like a market breakdown, and we look at what's happening in the market, things like interest rates, borrowing, legislation changes and stuff like that, all around money, different accounts that are being launched, all that sort of stuff, the sort of stuff that Martin Lewis talks about, like those sorts of things, but like from my perspective, how it's going to impact you, the breakdown of it, all that sort of thing. So for £2 a week, you can subscribe to that. There's no contract. If you want to stay in for as long as you're getting value, absolutely fine. So that's the link. If you want to join that, it's up there for you today. Okay, so tonight, obviously today's task was about your emergency fund. So it was about working out the figure that you guys want to get into a position where you've got your emergency fund, and to start to think about how you're going to get there. Now, actually, emergency fund doesn't need a lot of time spending on it, right? Because once you've done that calculation and you have figured out the amount that you need, whether it's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, whatever you're targeting, then actually it's about how you're going to do that. Yeah. And I think there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can either earn more money or you can spend less, right? They're really the only 2 things that you can do when you're looking at that sort of thing. Now, one of the things I want to make really clear is why I talk about an emergency fund before we get into investing, and before we start talking about clearing debt in a detailed way. So the reason emergency fund comes first is because if you don't have an emergency fund set aside, then what will happen when things inevitably go wrong, because they do, because life goes wrong. It's just what happens. I had a flat tire this week, and things like that. Well, I had a flat tire on a brand new tire. I had a brand new tire done for my MOT, passed my MOT, literally within 4 days, it was flat, big gaping hole in it. I think I hit a pothole through one of the floods. So 120 quid for a new tire, that's really annoying. But it's £120 that comes out of my emergency fund because it's there for those reasons, for those like unexpected expenses that you're not planning to have. If you don't have an emergency fund, if I didn't have a pot of money that was for shit like that, then what would happen? I would either take it out of another pot, I would put it on a credit card, or I'd put it on an overdraft, right? Because that's all you can do, because that's where the money is. So what's really important to understand is that if you haven't got an emergency fund, you will end up relying on other money in other places, usually debt. Well, if we're trying to get out of debt, then you pay down some debt, then something happens, flat tire, £120 up on your debt. What we want your debt to be doing is always creeping down, never going back up. So by having the emergency fund in place, even if it's 1 or 2 months, even 1 month, right? If you've got your emergency fund there, then you won't rely on debt, which means you don't add to any additional debt. In the book, I talk about the BAAT system for clearing your debt. The first one is budgeting. The second one is automating your money. The third one is avoiding new debt. And the fourth part is tracking what you're doing, right? There's a whole chapter on the book in that, on that system. And avoiding new debt, the only way really to do that is to have a pot of money that helps you to do that. So that's why we talk about an emergency fund first before we start digging into the other things. So you can earn more money and again, I know a lot of people be like, well, I already earn as much money as I possibly can. Are you? Right? Could you be selling some bits on Vinted? Could you be renting out your parking space on your driveway through the Just Park app? Could you be doing car boot sales and getting rid of the junk that's in your house? Like we did a car boot sale recently. We made like 140 quid. You know, it's not loads of money. It's not set the world on fire money, right? It's not going to retire me, but it's money that can go into other things. Pay for a tire, right? Could you be one of the things I did a long time ago before I started in property really was I'm a photographer. It's one of the hobbies that I have. I don't do it as much as I would like to do it these days, but I took stock images on my camera and I uploaded them to stock image websites, and people randomly will buy one of my photographs. It's not a lot of money, but it's little bits. What could you be doing differently to earn a bit of extra cash? You know, Annie's just put in here, host a foreign exchange student. Maybe. There's all sorts of things that you probably haven't even thought about. And if you Google ways to earn money without starting a business, because not everybody wants to start a business, right? This is not about creating a side hustle necessarily. Different ways that you can make money without starting a company. Vinted, eBay, this sort of stuff, you know, buying and selling car boots. I did a challenge a few years ago where I think we started with £100 and the target was to try and turn £100 into £1,000 using car boot sales and eBay, right? And I did it for a little while. I made some money and then I didn't get to £1,000 because I ended up getting quite busy. But what I did was I went to a car boot and I had £100 budget and I could buy whatever I wanted, and I could then flip that thing on eBay or sell it online for a bit of extra cash. And I did it, this was only a couple of years ago. I did it for a bit of fun, really. And I bought things like mugs with like Charles and Diana and stuff like that. People lap that up on eBay. You buy it for 50p on the car boot, sell it for £7 on eBay. Now, I appreciate that this is effort, right? Not everybody wants to get up and go to a car boot sale and look at mugs. I bought, those like cigarette cards you used to get, like they're like antique cigarette cards and they come in like sets. So there's like a set of ships and there's a set of bikes and there's a set of cars. So I found a load of those. I bought all of those, sold them on eBay, made a load of money. Like there's all sorts of things you can do creatively to make money if you want to, and if you've got the effort to do it. The problem is not everybody thinks creatively about what else they could be doing. So what I want you to think about is with the emergency fund is not just how can I spend less, but also is there anything I actually could be doing differently? Could I set myself a little challenge to turn £50 on a car boot into £1,000 in 90 days or something like that? Because when you set yourself a target, you set yourself a goal and it becomes like a project, generally you'll stay more focused on it. Set yourself something that's defined, measurable. You know, we talked yesterday about that money system, making sure that it's measurable and you know how you'll know when you've achieved it is quite an important detail. So look at things like that and it will help. Is anyone actually that's listening done anything that has helped them to just make a little bit of extra cash on the side? You know, things like what Annie said, hosting a foreign exchange student, things like Vinted. I love Vinted. I sell loads of stuff on Vinted. Emma also, I'm at Emma's house today, by the way, different background for you all. We're running our property and poppadoms event tonight. So I'm in Northampton, so I can go straight there. So any of you guys doing anything like that you're happy to share, because it would be great for you guys to share within each other what you're doing, what's working, what's not. So putting medications into an app, taking up a part-time job at weekends, doing Vinted, £160 a week. That's good for a foreign exchange student if you've got a spare room. Bruce has done busking on the street. Amazing. Clothes on Vinted. Happy days. I'll tell you what else works. So Andy's mum does this. She does like online like feedback questionnaires, like surveys. So if there's like a product or offering or whatever, and they're like, you get £7 for spending like 20 minutes answering a survey. Well, you do 3 of them in an hour, that's £21 an hour. It's a pretty good rate for sitting in front of the telly on your laptop. You know, there's all these sorts of things. And I think a lot of time we know we probably could do it, but we just don't actually like dedicate the time to go and figure it out. You know, what can you do differently to what you've been doing? And, you know, could it make a difference to your money? Probably. this is an interesting one. So Andy and I got a lodger in 2016. It was. So after we started property, we started to make some money, and we had a spare room in our old house, not this house that we're in now. We actually had 2 spare rooms, and we rented one room out as a spare room. And then when we went traveling for 3 months, we rented out the second one. So we got 2 lodgers while we were traveling. And when we were there, we just had one lodger. And, you know, I didn't like having to share my home, right? It's not something I would have chosen, but it allowed me to clear a credit card. And that mattered to me at the time. Sometimes we've got to do stuff that's a bit uncomfortable to move forward. Yeah, because if we keep doing what we've always done, nothing changes, right? So what could you do differently? Have you got a spare bedroom? Maybe. Could you put on Airbnb? Maybe. Think, what could you be doing? Laura's put on here, post on Vinted every week, a couple of items. First one I did, I made £480 selling handbags, but it doesn't matter. Like, if it's stuff that you don't want anymore, if you're going to, I have a rule, like if it's going to go to a charity shop anyway, if there's stuff in there that's got labels on or is like good quality, I will try and sell it on Vinted first. I sold some Christmas jumpers that don't fit me anymore this week. It gave me like £14 into my balance, and I bought shorts to go to Ibiza with. So it's like I've just exchanged things, but I didn't have to go and buy shorts. Those are sorts of things that are going to make a massive difference to your overall money, right? So tonight, really, I don't want to labour on actually about emergency fund, because you either make more money or you spend less. That's what's going to create that difference. What I really want to do tonight is actually talk a bit about tomorrow's task, because tomorrow's task is very much about investment, right? So we've gone through the money practices. We've gone through the understanding where the money's going. We've identified the leaks. We're starting to plug those leaks. Today is about that emergency fund, that first layer to prepare for investment. But then what I want to finish the challenge off this week is you having an investment action plan. So normally I wouldn't tell you the task in advance, but I think to make tomorrow as powerful as I want it to be for you all, I want to deal with some of the challenge, some of the stuff that's going to come up for you tomorrow, right? So tomorrow, you're going to be working on your investment action plan worksheet. And I'm not going to tell you what's in it, because that bit can be a bit of a surprise in the morning. But what you're going to be doing tomorrow is looking at things like your risk tolerances, choosing your first investment or your next investment if you've already got a little like starter point. And I've put in here a table that explains all different investment types, whether they're good for a beginner, what you could do to get started and so on. And that's all in there. But what's going to happen tomorrow is you're going to get the common fears are going to start to come up, because you'll be looking at this and you'll be thinking, investment, I'm not there yet. I haven't got enough money to invest. I don't know anything about investing. I don't know, what right have I got to be planning an investment strategy when I don't know anything about it? Investment, that's scary. What if I lose all my money? The stock market feels a bit like gambling. I'm too late to start. I'm too old to start, all of these things. Now, I know for certain that some of you are thinking about these things. So I wanted to deal with this tonight, because I want you to come up tomorrow with the energy of somebody who's not frightened. And I want you to really dig into it and embrace it and get excited about it, right? So some of the most common fears we get around investing, I mean, some of them I just listed here, but I've picked 4 for tonight. And I think, in fact, let me ask you guys first in the comments, what would you say is your biggest fear around investing? What is the actual problem? Like, what's the barrier? What's making you stop or not do the thing? What is your biggest fear around investing? What would you say it is? I'm also going to have a swig of my water while I wait for you to type. I've had new nails done today. Do you like them? Ibiza nails. What do you say is your biggest fear? Lack of knowledge and understanding. Interesting. So lack of knowledge is stopping you from doing, because you're worried that you don't know enough to be able to do the doing. Money down the drain from parents. Interesting. Not knowing which one to pick to invest in. So One of the training videos that is coming out on Stock Savvy is a really detailed video about fundamental analysis, which is exactly that, Paul, like how to actually pick the things that you want to pick. Knowledge and fear of money being lost. Yeah. Just takes time until I just put it in on a general index tracker. Yeah. I think for you guys, these are fairly common fears. They're fairly common things that people tell me. It is that I'm worried about losing money. I'm worried it's a scam. I hear that a lot. I don't know enough to be able to be confident that I'm doing the right thing. And I don't know how to pick what I'm going to invest in. So I think I don't have enough money to invest. Let's deal with that one first, right? Actually, over this week, I think probably some of you have shifted your position on this because you've started to see that actually, it doesn't, you don't need millions to get started. You can just get started, and that's what will make you a lot of money, right? I was talking in the VIP session today about fractional shares, and the beauty of what a fractional share is let's say that you some companies you can buy fractional shares, and some companies you have to buy like the whole share. So companies where you have to buy a whole share, for example, let me just look at my free trade and I can tell you, I'll give you accurate information here rather than guessing. So companies where you have to buy a full share, let's take a company like Legal and General, right? That's a one that I invest in quite heavily. I own quite a few shares in Legal and General. So that's not investment advice, by the way. You can only buy a share in its totality. So you can only buy 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 shares. Their share price at the moment is £2.24. So in order to get into Legal and General, you would need a £2.24, and you can just buy one whole share. But fractional shares, right? If I wanted to buy shares in Coca-Cola, I can buy 1 share, or I can buy 0.025 of a share. I can buy 1.6 shares. I can buy 2.3 shares. You can buy fractional shares. So you can buy whole shares, or you can buy point blah, blah, blah of a share. So today I bought £6.72 of Coca-Cola shares. I did it while I was on the live to show people what I was doing. And that bought me 0.1235865 shares. Right? So it's a fractional share. It's what's a tiny fraction of the company itself. So when I hear people saying I haven't got enough money to start, well, actually, that was £6.72 I invested today. One of the ladies, I think, I can't remember her name, Sivta, maybe. I could have, you're probably listening and thinking, Sarah, that is not my name at all. I can't remember your name, I'm sorry. Bought £1 of Coca-Cola shares today so she could see the process. Fractional shares. So you don't need to have thousands to get started. You just need to get started, right? So you could start with 10. You could start, Legal and General's £2.24. You could start with £2.24 if you wanted. And Legal and General's a dividend paying out share. So actually, when you own shares in Legal and General, you'll also earn a passive income, 9.2% dividend yield that they pay. So get the fear of not having enough money, or not being able to keep up with the Joneses, not being able to get enough money in and make it work. The key to this is doing a little bit. Susie, that's it. I knew it was a S at the beginning. Sorry for not remembering your name. So the fear of not having enough, let's just squash that, because it's not a thing. It's not a thing we need to worry about. We just need to, if you're starting with a £5, a £10, that's fine. Just get started. It's absolutely fine. Another thing people say is, I don't know anything about investing and I'm afraid that I'm going to lose my money, right? And let's be honest, it's a risk that you could lose your money, right? Your capital is at risk when you invest, definitely. But everybody starts somewhere, right? And it's all about learning. It's all about doing your research, starting, as safe as you possibly can, and thinking about beginner-friendly options. Now, tomorrow in here, there's a very, very clearly outlined table which talks about the beginner friendly options, right? So I'm going to let you get to that tomorrow. But beginner friendly options are options that are really diversified and lower risk. Yeah. When we talk about things like cryptocurrency, that's really volatile. It's really high returns. It's very high risk. That's not necessarily beginner friendly unless you're willing to just put a bit of money there and potentially lose it all. It's not really beginner friendly. It's not there to give you that long term, unless you understand it. It's probably not to be played with, right? We talked about the garden of growth earlier in the week. Your crypto is like your exotic plants, like trying to grow really fancy exotic plants in Northamptonshire. It's hard, right? It's volatile. It's not going to work all the time. For beginners, you don't need to know a lot about investing to invest in very diversified index funds, for example. Like the S&P 500 is an index fund that tracks the 500 biggest companies in America. So if one of those 500 companies was to go bust, your investment, you own a share, a tiny little share in 500 different companies as part of that one single share in the fund. So if one company goes bust, you've got 499 other companies that will help you to buffer that storm. So beginner-friendly options like index funds, low-risk, diversified stuff is going to help you to lose money less when you're learning. If you go straight in for the stuff that's high risk, then you're more likely to lose money because you don't understand it. So when you don't know anything about investing and you're afraid that you're going to lose money because you don't know, then opt for the beginner-friendly options, which are things like index funds, very diversified, low-risk, layered investments, right? Bonds are another one. So the third fear that I wrote down here to talk to you about today is, and again, this is something that I've definitely heard, and this is a bit of a limiting belief, but I think this is also a mindset thing from people growing up and what we've heard people say. I think Laura said, like, money down the drain. The stock market feels a bit like gambling, right? I don't know if anyone feels like that. I feel like it's a bit like we don't really know what's happening. Investing is different from gambling, right? So it's based on informed decisions and it's based on long-term strategy. And that's what this document is tomorrow. It's about creating your long-term strategy. Gambling, where the odds are against you, right? When you are in a casino, the odds are against you in so many different ways, right? Even down to the fact that they're pumping oxygen into the building and you're really tired. And, if anyone's ever been to Vegas, it's almost impossible to keep track of time, because there's no windows. You don't know that it's getting dark. They're pumping oxygen in. They're bringing you drinks. Like, it's almost impossible. Even just at that level, the odds are against you when you're gambling, but they're also against you in the game itself, right? Whereas investing allows you to participate in the growth of a company, in the growth of economies. It's not the same as gambling. It isn't. When you're investing and you have a strategy that connects with who you are, what you're about, what you want to achieve, what your goals are, what your return expectations are, all of these things, then you invest, and the way you choose to invest will be based on informed decisions. It's not like gambling at all. They're very, very different things, right? And, when you are a shareholder in let's say Coca-Cola, for an example, when you are a shareholder in Coca-Cola, you don't have to worry about running Coca-Cola. You haven't got to meet any of the board of Coca-Cola. You haven't got to run a team of Coca-Cola. You haven't even got to buy Coca-Cola as a product if you don't want to. You don't have to participate in the growth of that company at all at a like physical level. But what you absolutely can do is benefit from their growth. You're contributing to the business, and you own the share. For as long as you own that share, you own the share, you own it as an asset. When you sell the share, depending on whether you sell it for more or less than what you bought it for, will depend on whether you have a profit or a loss. Unlike gambling, where when you put your money in, it's either in or it's out. You either lose it or you win, but you don't own anything, right? So it's very, very different to gambling. And then another thing that a lot of people say is, it's too late for me. I'm too old. It's too late for me to get started. And I massively disagree with this. It doesn't matter to me whether you are in your 20s, your 40s, your 60s, your 80s. Investing is aligning yourself to the future, but also investing can bring an income. So if you invest into dividend stocks, well, dividend stocks pay a passive income. You don't have to do anything for your money. You just get paid it. You know, I usually get dividends in at this sort of time in the year, in the month, sorry. So quite early on in the month for a lot of mine. When I look at my dividends. So like Coca-Cola paid me today £5.64 for my Coca-Cola shares that are in free trade. I got £9.96 from Legal and General. I got £20.13 from Rio Tinto. I got £6.30 from the All World Divvy. And all right, these are not massive numbers, but I got £25.96 from the UK dividend. Like, they all add up, right? Well, I haven't had to do anything for that money. All I did was put my money into those shares. I own those stocks and I'm getting that passively. And I mean, these are all my dividends that I've earned. Like, there's loads and loads and loads of them. That's all passive income that I've earned from just investing in these particular companies that are dividend paying. So it doesn't matter whether you are 20, 40, 60. Who doesn't want to actually earn passive income? Like true passive income, not the bullshit passive income that we hear about online, but actual, oh, here's some money. It's in your bank. Have some money. That's what dividend stocks will do. And you can go for dividend funds, which are diversified funds, low risk, that also pay you passive income. And it's this sort of stuff that a lot of people don't know about. So they think they have to try and time the market. They think that they need to, work out when Coca-Cola is going to be low so that they can buy and they'll make a load of money on a jump. That's not really the point. This is about strategy. This is a bit more strategic. And tomorrow, your task, based on a lot of stuff that's in here, is to work out what your first or next investment is going to be, right? So there's a couple of things you need to think about. The first one is risk tolerance, and the other one is diversification. So I'm going to talk about these today because I want you to understand that, everybody's risk tolerance is different. How comfortable you are with risk will be different to how comfortable I am with risk, will be different to maybe your partner or, your parents or whatever, right? So your risk tolerance is something that you probably want to try and work out. You probably know it a little bit. Like, are you somebody who's happy taking risks or not? But it's different when it's your actual money and it's, am I willing to take this risk? I created a risk tolerance questionnaire, like a quiz. If anyone wants the link to do that, it's free to do it. You just fill out a few questions and it will tell you what your risk profile is. WhatsApp me and I can get that link to you because it's quite interesting. But I think your investment plan tomorrow, what it's going to ask you to do is basically look at the different types of investments there are. So step 3 tomorrow is determine your risk tolerance. And a couple of the key questions, I want you to think about these tonight because it's going to impact your task tomorrow, is how would you feel if your investment lost 10% in value in 1 month? Would you panic and sell everything? Would you stay calm and wait it out? How much risk are you willing to take to potentially earn higher returns? You prefer to say steady, reliable, growth over minimum risk, maybe medium risk profile. You're okay with market fluctuations, but you don't really want to go too hard. Or high is you're super comfortable with the big swings. You're super comfortable with that like chance of significant gain, right? So you're happy to go big. When you read this tomorrow, there's no good or bad or right or wrong. It doesn't matter what risk profile you are. You just need to know which one you are. You just need to know whether you're somebody that's willing to play this game or that game because they're two quite different places. If you're risk averse, you're not going to want to play with all the volatile stuff, and that's fine. Don't. Someone asked me today, I'm thinking about investing in this thing. I don't really understand it, but I'm being promised like massive returns. If you don't understand it, then it's probably not something you should invest in a lot of money, and certainly not something you should invest in if you can't afford to lose that money that you're considering investing in. There's so many schemes in our industry. Like, I like to just be responsible for my own money. Like, I like to have it and invest in my own. I don't want to give someone else my money to invest. Now, I do have some of my money in funds that are managed by other people, but predominantly I manage my own money. But I've learned how to do that over a decade, right? So it takes a minute, but you'll get there. If you want to work out what your risk tolerance is, obviously tomorrow's task is going to help you a bit with that. But if you want that link to that quiz, let me know, and I'll send you the link. Just WhatsApp me and you'll have it. Diversification is the next thing. So, diversification, really, in simple terms, is not putting all your eggs in one basket, right? So it means spreading your investments across different types, and there's different types of assets. There's stocks, there's bonds, there's index funds, there's all sorts. There's real estate investment trust, which I love. There's dividends, there's growth, there's defensive. There's all these different types, and again, these are all explained properly tomorrow in your task. So don't worry if you don't know what they mean right now. But diversification is about selecting a mixture, like a pick and mix bag. I've not used the words pick and mix for ages. Pick and mix bag, so that you're not putting everything into one place. And it might be that you say, okay, well, I'm going to buy stocks, but I'm going to buy some tech stocks, some healthcare stocks, some, I don't know, pharmaceutical stocks, some real estate stocks, because then you're diversifying. Although you're buying stocks, you are diversifying in your industry. So if the tech industry plummets, usually what happens is, as industries, they move around like this, right? So if one comes down, it's possible that the others will go up to help you buffer the storm. But if all your money is in tech stocks and tech takes a hit, well, all your money is going to take a hit. So diversification is about spreading that risk. It's about thinking, okay, and again, your layers of a really diversified total portfolio. We talked about that garden of growth. Property is like your oak tree in your garden. You've got your hedges, which is your defensive hedge, like could be, what's defensive? Like Coca-Cola is defensive. It's been around forever, right? Colgate, Palmolive is pretty defensive. They've been around forever. You've then got like growth stocks, things like Nvidia, Meta, Apple, these companies that are doing incredible things that are going to grow. Well, those sorts of companies are slightly higher risk because they're not as, they're not been around for as long. They're not the old faithfuls. But it's these different layers of diversification that you can do. You can either diversify in stocks in industry, or you can diversify by having different asset types. You can have property, you could have bonds, you could have stocks, you could have funds, you could have whiskey and art and classic cars and jewelry. There's all these different asset classes you could have. You just have to decide how you want to diversify. And to start with, you might just start with a little bit of diversification. And then over time, you add to that. Again, tomorrow's task is going to dig into this with you and help you to define this. So I don't want you to worry right now if you're thinking, Sarah's saying loads of words that I don't understand, right? Don't worry. One of the things that you guys get if you join the Stock Savvy subscription is you get a jargon buster, which is all the different words that are used within the industry. And I've explained what they are, and then I've used them in a sentence for you so you can get a feel for, like, what does it mean if someone says the market's bullish, or I'm long into Bitcoin? What does that mean? I've given you a jargon buster so that you can kind of make sense of it. So those of you who have joined that, I know loads of you have joined it, which is amazing, and I'm excited that you're part of that. Those are the sorts of things that are going to be helpful for you. The other key things that I want you to just prepare for tomorrow is that anything you're doing from an investment perspective, the important aspect of this is that you start small, but you stay consistent. Yeah, it's not about, I'm going to take all my money, I'm going to invest it. I've got to do everything I can with everything I've got to invest right now. That's not what you need to do. The key really is about starting small and being okay with staying consistent. If you commit to £10 a month, commit to it and just stay there. Just let it do its thing until you can commit to £20 a month. until you can commit to £30 a month, and so on. The consistency and the discipline to do it regularly is the thing that will make the biggest difference. Because when you allow your money to compound over time, it will perform better, right? Consistently investing, even small amounts, will make a bigger difference to your wealth versus trying to put big chunks in and time the market right. So everybody that's ever said to me, oh, but I haven't got enough money, I'm not really an investor. You're all investors. You've all got enough money to start. £1, £2, £5. You know, I'm sure yesterday most of you found even a tiny leak, like a tiny one. Something maybe, you know, could we stop driving at 70 miles an hour and drive at 60 miles an hour and save a tenner a month in fuel? Maybe. I appreciate that's a bit of like a stretch, but maybe there's things we could do. And there'll be some of you chuckling right now, being like, Sarah, come on. But in reality, that's the reality, right? You could just use your petrol a bit better, spend a bit less, but you have to decide and be intentional with it. So tomorrow's worksheet is set up as a guide to start setting what your monthly contribution goals are going to be, right? And it doesn't matter if it's just a few pounds. I don't want you to look at it and be like, because I've used examples in here like build a deposit for a house, £5,000. If you look at that and you think, oh, fucking hell, I haven't got £5,000, don't panic. It's okay. I just want you to use what you've got, right? Work with it based on what you can do, not what you can't do. Yeah. So that's the task for tomorrow. I'm excited about it. Obviously, it's the end of the challenge, which makes me a bit sad because it's been a really, really cool week. I've loved hanging out with you this week. But I think what's going to make the biggest difference to bringing this jigsaw piece together is by plugging this jigsaw piece in. So, you know, working with our money, what's the end game? Well, the end game is to actually start putting it to work and making it work for us so that we can start earning more from what we've got, right? So at this point in the week, this jigsaw piece is going to make a massive difference to your overall outcome of the whole week. So stick with tomorrow, even if it feels a bit like I don't know exactly what I'm being asked. Just work through it as best you can. Make sure you WhatsApp me, right? I will be available. I'm having breakfast with my mum tomorrow morning at like 9 o'clock. So I won't be on WhatsApp for probably a couple of hours. But after that, I will answer any of your questions that you've got. I'm seeing my mum before I go to Ibiza for a month. So it won't be first thing, but I will answer anything that you've got tomorrow. You just have to ask me, just talk to me, because I can answer these questions. They are the same questions I had when I started. What is an ETF, Sarah? I'll get that tomorrow. It is explained in here because there were questions that I had. What if this? What if that? What if I want to do all things? What if I don't want to do that? Can that work? What's the low risk? What's high risk? What's this? What's that? Just talk to me, because tomorrow we need to decode this shit so that you can actually move it forwards. Because after tomorrow, you don't have me, right? I'm not here. So make sure you I'll be here, but we won't be doing this. Make sure you make the most of me being available, right? So there's a couple of things I just want to finalize on. But before we do that, is there any questions in the chat that I can answer for you before we wrap up this evening? Oh, look, Laura's saying nice things about the Jargon Buster. Thank you very much for that little testimonial. Appreciate it. The jargon is mad in our industry. It is madness. I think it must have been, sorry, boys, but I'm pretty sure that it's just a boys thing, just to bamboozle people and to feel important. But I don't know why we can't just say the market's up, why we have to say it's bullish or bearish, which means the market's down. I don't know why we need to say long positions, short positions, when it's actually buy and sell. You know, there's all these different things. You think, I listen to Bloomberg every day, right? Well, most days, not every day, but most days when I'm getting ready. And I listen to them and I'm like, why don't you just say the market is up? Why do we have to use all these funny words? It doesn't make sense. So the Jargon Buster that I've written, I think there's 100 different words that I've explained what they mean. And then I've used them in a sentence, like where you would hear them, on the radio, in the news, those sorts of things, so you can get a feel for exactly what they mean. So yeah, as a stock savvy subscriber, that £2 a week subscription, you get that as well. There's a few other bits that you get too, which I forget right now, but have a look on the website so you can see. This is a really good question, Paul. How does tax work on your investment payouts? So when you invest in a general investment account, which is what I use on Free Trade, so I don't pay for my Free Trade account, I have a general investment account. That income is taxable, right? So it's the income that I have to live on. I just send the report. I download a statement every year and I send it to my accountants, and they put it in alongside all my other streams of income that I've got, and I pay my tax. If you invest in a stocks and shares ISA, then your income on the stocks and shares ISA would be tax-free, because ISA income is tax-free. But if you've got a general investment account, then it would be taxable. I also have stocks and shares ISA separately, and I also have a standard ISA. My income on those are tax-free. But my general investment account, which is what I use my Free Trade for specifically, my stocks and shares ISA is with Monzo. And if anyone hasn't got a Monzo and they'd like one, I've got a link for you. And I think they give you a free, I don't know, it's like £5, £10, something like that. If you set up using a introducer link. So if anyone hasn't got a Monzo link and they want one, WhatsApp me. I'll send you the link and you can get some free cash. And it will give you that pot, all of those pots that we've talked about this week. And Monzo, you have the option to have a stocks and shares ISA in that account, and that income is tax-free. Whereas with Free Trade, unless you pay for a Free Trade account, and I don't want to pay for a Free Trade account because the fees wipe out my profits. There's just no point at the moment. I don't think I put enough in there to justify paying for it yet. As a beginner, you're not going to put in enough to justify the £10 a month fees. So because you're not paying for Free Trade, you've only got access to a GIA, general investment account, and a general investment account is taxable income. So hopefully that answers that question. Thank you for such informative sessions. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. Imagine how informative our session's going to be in Milton Keynes at Money Mechanics Live. That's a little shameless plug, wasn't it? A tedious connection. I've loved seeing the those of you confirming tickets today. Again, thank you so much for booking those tickets. It's going to be an incredible event. I cannot wait. Obviously, the more of you that come, the better it's going to be. And, you know, I can only get so much into an hour on an evening, and I can't keep you much longer than an hour because my voice would give up and you'd like just your head would explode. When we spend a whole day together and I actually get you to do things that are really going to move you from knowledge to action, you're going to see how this stuff actually is just so accessible. It's so tangible to the future of your finances as well. And it's going to make such a big difference. So as many of you as possible, please book a ticket. It's going to be amazing. I think in terms of the agenda, I've had a couple of questions about the agenda, which is just worth me sharing. So a couple of people said to me, what are you actually going to be covering? So we're going to be looking like beyond limiting beliefs, but like mastering your money relationship. And myself and Eloise will be covering that. We're very much going to look at decoding debt at a much deeper level. You know, one of the questions I was asked in the VIP session today by Bruce was, how do I know if I should be clearing my debt first or investing first? And actually there's a short answer and then there's a long answer. And, you know, at the event, we're going to go into the long answer of exactly how you do that. We're going to be looking at advanced spending strategies. So you've got this very conscious money flow, very intentional behaviors around your money, and how you stop repeating the patterns that you have had historically so that you don't keep ending up in the same place. We're going to look at creating multiple streams of income without needing to start lots of businesses, because, you know, not everybody wants to run a company. I appreciate I'm a bit mad and I've got multiple companies, and I feel a bit mad on some days having multiple companies, but you can have streams of income without starting businesses. There's the other ways you can do it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to look at strategic investment, and we're going to very much focus on like an evolution of what you're going to do tomorrow. So that investment action plan, that strategy for creating a plan for the future. We're going to look at your Fuck You Money fund, which is something that we talk about in the book. I believe everybody should be in a position of having Fuck You Money. And if I can help one person in the world get to a place where they have fuck you money because of the methods that I've taught them, I will have achieved my goal. And actually, I think loads of you are going to achieve that. So, I want as many people as possible. In 10 years' time, I want to be getting texts and WhatsApps from people saying, thanks to what you taught me at this event on the 30th of November, I've now got fuck you money, and that was down to you. Like, that's my ambition. That's what I want to do with this. And that's the impact I want to have on you guys. So we're going to dig really deep into that, how it works, what it is, what it means to you, and how you can actually get to it. Because it's a total game changer. And it's not something I can't make you a millionaire in 5 minutes flat. I'm not going to stand on a stage and promise that this is going to be easy. I'm not going to tell you that you can do it, without any effort. Like, basically the opposite of any training event you've ever been to. I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm going to tell you how I've done it. And I'm going to tell you how you can follow the same methods to do it as well. And you'll be able to figure out, based on the formulas, how long that's going to take you, because it will be different for all of us. So if you want a ticket to that, you need to use that code. One of you booked it, paid full price. Don't do that. I don't want you guys to pay the £650 plus VAT. I want you guys to pay the £295 plus VAT. So make sure that code that's swinging across the bottom, let's get loaded. When you get to the checkout, put that in, and that will get your price down to the £295 plus the VAT. And yeah, I can't wait to see loads of you there. If you come in, put in the comments, actually, because I know there's a few of you that have booked that aren't on here tonight. But if you're booking a ticket, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat if you come in. Maybe you've not booked yet, but you're planning to. Okay, let me come back to questions and see. Is Monzo an online bank? I have a Starling one. So Monzo is very similar to Starling, Paul. I don't use Starling, so I don't know what the facilities are in regards to the like the pots and stuff. Actually, maybe when we're in Ibiza, we could have a look at it together. So Paul's coming on our retreat next week in Ibiza. Don't be coming ill though. Get well before then. Maybe we could have a look at it together, and I can see, and maybe I can just show you, if Starling's got the capacity to do these things, I can show you how to do it. If not, I can show you how to set up Monzo. And again, anyone else who's coming to Ibiza, we are doing a session on money mechanics inside of your agenda in the week. So I can show you a load more stuff as well. So yeah, that's that. Thanks, Emma. They're very cool. Look at these little fancy. I love, so turquoise is my color, and yeah, I love them. They're really, really cool. I had my toes done as well. Not that most of you care about that, but just sharing, seeing as they were commented on. Let's have a look. Is there any other question at all? Shamila's saying, don't forget to visit the website for more helpful resources. So just www.sarahpoynton.com. That's our website, and there's all sorts of stuff on there as well that would be useful to many of you, I'm sure. Feel free to have a little look at that. Julie's saying Starling has spaces instead of pots. Great. Well, that's really, really good. Monzo was created by the same people as Starling. Interesting fact that I didn't know. There you are. Fun facts. What other questions have we got on here? Hope the sea is the same colour. Paul, have you not been to Ibiza? The sea is the same colour as my nails. Very much so. It's going to be beautiful. And the sun, I've ordered the sun and everything. It's going to be great. Okay. Let me just check if there's any other questions. No, I think we've covered most things. Okay, which means we're bang on time, which is ace. So thank you so much for getting this far through the week, right? There were 80 people at the beginning of the week, and there's 40 people now. 50% of the people that had the ability to learn all of this stuff have bombed out. You are still here. Just stick it out for one more day. Tomorrow's task, I know, is going to throw some people, right? That's why I've talked about it tonight in advance. Don't worry. I'm at the end of WhatsApp. Just WhatsApp me. In here, like, one of the first things we talk about, obviously we talk about current situation, etc. Choose your first investment is something you're going to read tomorrow, and it talks about investment types: ETFs, bonds, stocks, art, crypto, index funds. These are the sorts of words you're going to see. And if you've never heard these words other than what I've said to you today, make sure you don't panic. Just WhatsApp me. Sarah, I've read what you've said, but I don't understand it. Explain it better. And I will just WhatsApp you back and I will explain it better, right? You have to remember this is the first time we've done this challenge. So some of these things I might have to explain better, and I'm happy to. Make sure you talk to me. Make sure you WhatsApp me. I want to know what's going on. We just need to get to the end of tomorrow. We've got one last session tomorrow night. And tomorrow night, I'm going to be asking to hear from you, like what you've decided. Right? I want to hear from you in the chat so we can discuss it. We can look at pros and cons and stuff like that. So have a great day. Have a nice evening. Have a great day tomorrow, whatever you are up to. I'll enjoy my breakfast with my mother. And then I will be on here with you guys. I just got distracted then by this question. How will the nails go with the jacket you bought the other day? Horrendously is the answer, Julie. Horrendously. When the jacket arrives, it might actually arrive tomorrow. And if it does, I'll give you a little cameo of it. Bright yellow, like the yellowest of yellow. It's going to be hilarious. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're bang on time. I will see you guys tomorrow.